And good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another stream with me here live on YouTube. And we're going to be bringing you just some of my thoughts on the Tottenham game. Obviously, we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking a lot about that game in specific, obviously tonight, because of the fact that we beat Tottenham 2-0. It was a really, really good result, and I wouldn't say necessarily a result that I was prioritising or is a necessarily really important one. But it's a result nonetheless, and it's a result that I think the boys can be proud of, very proud of. They played extremely well. Now I'm just going to adjust my camera angle a little bit because it's being a bit dodgy today. There we go. Camera's playing ball with me now. But guys, it is brilliant to be back and talking. Just as I say, a little bit about what's going on at Forest at the moment. And obviously there's a lot going on. So we're going to talk about that, and we're not just going to talk about the cup result. We're also going to talk a lot about the new signing that's coming in January, Gustavo Scarpa. So make sure you share this. Make sure that you mention the fact we're talking about Gustavo Scarpa as well, because I know that everybody is looking forward to it. I mean, he's a very, very good player, very skilled, and more importantly, very experienced. And obviously, he's going to add a lot of quality to our midfield. So a really, really exciting prospect, a really exciting player. And certainly a player that I think we'll all be wanting to see at some stage. And also I've got a bit of unfortunate news for you all, and I didn't really want to do this, but I will be cutting down the amount of streams that I do, and I know that's not been a ridiculous amount, and I know that. You know, the whole thing with streaming at the moment is it's an interesting environment. I know there's a lot going off and there's lots of different streamers. And obviously, you know, there's Door and everybody else. And, you know, these guys are really great. And I've actually really enjoyed doing it. And it's been a bit of an experiment, really, to kind of see how things go. And things have been a bit quiet recently. You know, videos used to get a lot more views and they used to do a little bit better. So it's time for me to go and kind of reflect for a little bit and kind of see what I can do to improve content for you all. Because obviously, you know, you guys are at the heart of what I do and why I do this. So I am gonna take a little period of reflection to go and have a look at what we can do better. To be honest, because I know that I'm probably not doing everything right at the moment, which I'm a bit gutted about. You know, and that shows. That really does show. And I know a lot of people have jumped to other channels, and you know, and they prefer them. So, and that's fair enough. Because I don't really sit when it comes to sitting on a fence of some sort. I don't really sit on an extreme level of it at either side. You know, and maybe that just doesn't sit well with people. Maybe I don't know. I've just not made the headlines right, or I've not done something right, but. But either way, I just want to thank everybody that is watching. As I say, I will be cutting down on the amount of streams I do. Pardon me, and focusing more on player interviews. And I've also got a couple of projects that are coming through very soon. Pardon me, we're having some meetings during the World Cup. And yeah, so we're going to be making a lot of changes. There's going to be some really exciting projects coming though throughout next year, and obviously I've got my A levels at the moment as well, so it's kind of all coming a bit at once, which is gutting, because obviously I know that as a YouTuber, when you stop streaming, when you stop uploading content, like I did just for a very short period of time, it does have huge effects on your channel, and I'm already seeing that. So yeah, I love doing this, by the way. So don't get it twisted in the fact that I don't enjoy this, because I really do. And you know, coming and streaming, it does feel a bit different now, you know, than what it used to. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many people are watching. It's about the impact that you're having on the people that do watch, as I've always said, and I will always say. So yeah, I just want to say this isn't it. This isn't the end. But we're gonna be making a few little changes, a few little tweaks to how the channel is is the content that we produce. And yeah, as Dor says, just just to enjoy it. And that's what I do. I love doing this. I really do love doing this, and I don't want this to become into like a big thing about what's going on. But you know, I understand as well that with Forest not doing so well, in the league and stuff, people aren't as interested, and they want to go and watch other things, and that's also totally understandable. And I know that the situation is quite disheartening at times, regardless of the cup result. We're still bottom of the league, and it's a bit gutting. But nonetheless, that's YouTube, that's football, that's everything. But I just want to give you a heads up that with A levels and everything else coming my way, things are going to be quite tough for this in terms of streaming. But in terms of making new content, in terms of spicing it up a little bit and changing a few things and doing a couple of interesting different videos with very different YouTube channels and different personalities within the Forest world and also just the journalism world. We're going to have some good things on the horizon. So do stick with us because, as I say, we've got something massive coming next year. And the people that are going to be in this very, very well. And, the people that are involved in this next coming project are very well known to you all. And it's an honor to be, it's an honor to be involved with them on a friendship basis. Bear in mind, a professional basis, and everybody I've met through this journey. It's an honor to be friends with them, and me and Dor will tell you the many, and I'm gonna vlog probably the Football Content Awards next week, the FCAs, which is next Wednesday. So I'm really buzzing for that, and I'll be on Twitter all night for that. So make sure you do stay around on Twitter. But I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing for the future. I really am. And I appreciate everybody's support. Daryl, Greg, Tim, Life of Z. I appreciate your feedback. Kel, of course, good to see you. Sebastian, your legend. Yeah, it's just the way that things are, to be honest. And I, as I say, I love doing this. Got loads of things coming. And obviously we've got nominated for an award, and that for me is a very clear reason to never stop doing this, and I will never stop doing this. I just want to say streams aren't going forever or anything like that. It's just going to be a bit less frequent. We're going to keep doing these, probably the post-match reviews, probably the pre-match ones might have to kind of slow down a bit, but it's going to be player interviews. It's going to be, I can't say it, but the project that's coming is massive. And you'll all be super excited, and perhaps some of you will even come and visit when we go through with the project. And obviously I've met a lot of you along this journey as well. So Malk, obviously I never even knew I was serving you at the pub, and I'm working, and you actually watch the streams, and Forrest and Tim and Dor, of course. I've met you all doing this, and Dor, the people we've met along the way, that Germany game. And I never actually, I've still got the video from that Germany game that I need to edit together. So maybe that's something I can make and just have it as a little keepsake. But we've met brilliant people, David Johnson and, the family. And we've met, I've met Gary Birtles, Michael Dawson and, Jason Lee yesterday. I didn't even recognize him. Without all the hair. So it's all here now. It's all here. So you're just some brilliant people, really, really awesome people. Yeah, and as I say, I'm just really, really grateful to everybody that has been with me throughout that journey. And as I say, it's not over. This is just the beginning, but it's just going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride these next couple of months. So as I say, just stick with us. I'm testing out a few things, just testing how the internet works, how we can promote it a little bit better, and how we can kind of engage more with you, which is the important bit. To you, the listener, and the person watching. Forrest, Dan, appreciate that. The next step for me will still be with this. Obviously, next year, looking at professional stuff, maybe would be nice. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to tell you that really, and then we can get into talking about Forest, which is why you're all here, and the reason that I'm here as well this evening. So let's talk then. Let's talk. Obviously, there's a big game coming up on Saturday. It's Forest versus Crystal Palace. It's a game that I would say we need 3 points in. I don't think anybody can deny 4 points from Brentford and Crystal Palace is what you need or what you'd want. Potentially could have been 6, would have been nice. But that being said, we can't say, right, Crystal Palace is an easy opponent, we're going to walk all over them, because they have got, you know, they have got some fantastic players. I mean, some of them are in my FPL. I'm sure a lot of them are in your FPL as well. Wilfred Zaha, for example. Lots of great players on the Crystal Palace team. You've got Eze, as I say, you can name lots of them. They're very good players. Obviously struggling a little bit at times, but still a very good team. They've been in the Premier League since 2014 or somewhere around then, probably even earlier. And they've been there for a long time, and they're a very well run team. They've bonded quite well together, and as I say, just struggling a little tiny bit. But by no means are they out of the race to do a little bit better in the Premier League this season and prove people wrong. And as I say, this could be a foundation for them to go on a good run and prove people wrong. So when it comes to Crystal Palace, I'm eager and I'm optimistic, and I do think we can really, really do well as a side. And I think that we will shock a few people in the way we play, or perhaps we won't because of the fact that we had a good game last night against Spurs, and perhaps we can carry that on. But at the same time, I think we can shock a few people with how we can play in the league now, and I think we're going to shock a few people in terms of our consistency going forward, and the World Cup will be a huge boost to the players. And it's devastating that Dean Henderson didn't get into the World Cup squad, but you've got 3 maybe not world class, but you could say world class. I don't know how you view it, but you've got 3 really good national team class goalkeepers there. Nick Pope, brilliant shot stopper, fantastic. Jordan Pickford, again, really good. And Aaron Ramsdale, without a doubt, very good keeper. And why would you want to change that? I love Dean Henderson. I really do love Dean Henderson. And I don't want to be too controversial in the way I say this, because I think he's a goalkeeper that is, obviously he's a young guy, he's got so much time left to kind of mature and improve, because this is only just the start for him, really. And obviously goalkeepers play for years, and Henderson will he'll change and improve and adapt to the club and the environment that he's in, and I really do think there's a lot of potential for him there, and potentially an England number 1 at some point in the future. Obviously he's got a lot of competition, fierce competition, but this season I feel that Nick Pope and Aaron Ramsdale, alongside Jordan Pickford, is the right people to go to the World Cup for me. Really like Dean. Really, really like him. Very good player. I'm sure a very nice person as well. But at the same time, I do have to put my sentimentality aside and say, actually, for me, I wouldn't have taken him to the World Cup. And please, in the chat, let me know how you're feeling about that. But I wouldn't have taken him to the World Cup. And that's my opinion. And as I say, this is not by no means an attack. But the distribution thing's a bit of a concern, and I'm sure Gareth Southgate is something that he's highlighted. And Greg, Hennessy was a bit more calm on the ball. Even in situations where you've got a guy near enough standing on your toes, Hennessy was calm, he was relaxed, and he was composed most of all. And I think for me, that's why, as a keeper, he's the first choice for his national team. I know that Wales' setup is a little bit different in regards to the players that they have to choose from. But nonetheless, you've still got to fight for your place, and fight for his place has Hennessy done. He's worked hard for it. And he's a very experienced keeper. And actually, I think a really good signing by Forest in the summer. And he will teach Dean Henderson a lot. So I can expect to see a much improved Dean Henderson even from the good standard that he is now. There's tweaks that needs to be made, and I think he'll make them over the Christmas period. He's got that time to do it. And I know that he'll be focused on his personal development, and that will rub off on the team. So I'm impressed with how Henderson is as a person, as a player, and everything, but I just wouldn't have put him in my World Cup squad. But this is a chance now for him to springboard himself into the next England squad for the various, friendlies or Nation League. I don't know how the internationals work anymore. I just kind of flick on the TV if I can, or perhaps, maybe for the Euros, in a couple of years in Germany. So I just wish him all the best. And as a player, the thing that you should see this as is not as a failure, not as a time where you failed, because ultimately you haven't. You're playing for a Premier League side, and you're getting paid a good amount of money, and you're doing well in terms of your football career. Nobody can take that away from him. He's doing very well, and he's done well for himself for such a young guy. And I'm sure that his family and us as fans are very proud of him. But he has to use this as a motivation to get to that next level, and that's the England squad. And I don't think he's going to get first choice Man U keeper at any point in his career. Looking at it now, if they're looking at other goalkeepers, it will be second choice. And whether he stays at Forest and whatever, I don't know. But this is it. This is football, and anything can happen. But I just wish him the best. And also, I know that a lot of people are saying, well, just stick Hennessy in goal. He's so much better. And, I agree. He had a very, very good game last night. And from watching him before, even live, he's just a very good shot stopper. And as we say, very calm and composed on the ball. And that's something that you want in a keeper, because that kind of level of confidence, but humble confidence, like no ego, just humble, but also not scared, not fearing your opponent, is so important. And that kind of irradiates onto the other players throughout the team. And you could tell, Willy Bolly and Hennessy and Worrell, they weren't panicking just to clear the ball and just pass it anywhere. And there was a couple slip-ups at times, but there was nothing major. And I just want to say as well, Bolly was brilliant, because for me, he did what you needed him to do. And that's the important thing. There wasn't any messing about in areas where you shouldn't be messing about. There wasn't any times when he's kind of let something slide and let a player get past him. It's just been no nonsense. Get rid of the ball, slide the player out if you have to, make sure it stays away from the goal. And that was it. And he did a really good job of that. Obviously, you got Serge Aurier on the right, who's fantastic. For a free deal, you've got a player that's worth, he's 29, so I don't know what you could value him at. What would you guys value Aurier at? What would you value him at? It's got to be over 10 million, 15 million. The guy is absolutely class, and even if a guy's taller than him, he's winning the header against him. I don't care if it's Peter Crouch, anyone. You put him up against absolutely anyone, and he will beat you in a header. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be Shaquille O'Neal, so Serge Aurier is beating you for a header. He gives his all. He really did. He really did give his all, and I was really impressed with that. Bolly, yeah, he did. He did, and I'm not saying that he had any spectacular amount of pace that I think is required, and I don't think that you do need a spectacular amount of pace. And when it comes to, how do I put this? When it comes to Steve Cook, and I'm going to be controversial now because I know that people are probably going to attack me for this, but I actually believe that when the lines are moving forward, and obviously, I'm not denying that there's been a couple of mistakes along the way, and that Vissa goal against Brentford was a mistake, and it was unfortunately down to the positioning. If all the lines of the various players, so your forwards, your midfielders and defenders, are so high up, they already know there's a weakness there. Steve Cook can't run back as quick. Scott McKenna, a little bit quicker, but still can't run back as quick. You're playing that higher line, and that can happen. And albeit it wasn't a ridiculously high defensive line to the point where it's like he had no chance. But I still think Steve Cook's a very good defender. And I do think he's a very reliable defender. It's just a case of, well, how high are you going to put the defensive line? How fast is the striker that you're going against? And, can he compete? And, you're looking and you're going, right, okay, well, the defence crisis that people spoke about isn't really much of a crisis, because you've got a player like Willy Bolly who give him a couple of games can probably prove how more reliable he is if he can stay fit. You've got players like Lloyd Bade, who's yet to make an appearance and could add something. We don't know yet. He could add something. You've got players like Joe Worrell, who wants to try and work his way back into the squad as club captain. And, he's trying to build his confidence up a bit more. And he did look a little bit like he lacked a bit of confidence at times, a bit shy. But that'll come back to him, and I said it from the start of the season. I don't believe that Joe Worrell is a bad player. I think he's a good player, a player that I would have kept in the defence for a lot of occasions. Because, at the end of the day, it's a collective issue that we had at the start of the season when we were really, really getting beaten badly every week. And we are improving as well. We are improving. And, I'm not going to be blind and say that we've been brilliant and that we should have done this. We should have beaten Brentford. The second half wasn't brilliant, though. And that second half, we didn't deserve to beat Brentford. But, of course, the officiating was awful. And it did not help us at all. So in regard to officiating, if it wasn't for bad officiating, we would have won that game. But that second half performance was poor. So there's still things to iron out as a team. But the confidence, the chemistry between players, the ability to make rotation is really promising. And I'm gutted that Mangala's suspended the game before the World Cup. Obviously, he's not in the Belgium squad, so he's going to be having a bit of a quiet Christmas with family and friends, I'm sure. And it would have actually been nice to have been able to see the little O'Brien, Mangala, or Mangala and Kouyaté. Or I probably wouldn't have gone Mangala and Kouyaté. For me, I'd probably go Mangala, Yates and O'Brien in the midfield and then see where you go from there. So I was really, really pleased with Mangala just to get that red card. And obviously it was definitely a yellow. It's just unfortunate that he had a yellow before that. And it was, for anybody that says it wasn't a card, looking back, it really was. 2 feet from the behind. It's got to be. Even though he's got the ball there, it's unsafe. But Richarlison, he just loves to milk it, doesn't he? Evening, Raddad. I hope you're well, my friend. Good to see you yesterday, actually. And remember what I told you about the lucky aftershave. It's still a thing. It's still a thing, and I'll be wearing it on Saturday, so maybe it'll do something. It's a shame it doesn't last as long as the match, but yeah, you won't be able to smell it. Kieran, hope you're doing well, sir. Good to have you. I'll be on Dora on tour at 9 o'clock as well, so I'm going to be cutting this stream short at about 8:45. And then if you want to jump over on Door's channel at about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, sorry, I'll be there. So really excited for that. And obviously, Door, thank you for giving me the platform to share my opinion. And I know secretly Door really does actually adore me. Thinks I'm a bit of a legend, don't you, Door? I know you do. Wherever you are, I know you do. So anyway, guys, I'm going to put a question towards you then. I'm going to put a question, and don't worry, Raddad, I will wear lots on Saturday. Probably a bit too much as well. So you probably, everybody in the press box and the stadium will be keeping like a big radius around me. They'll be like, "Whoa, that's too much." I'm going to ask you all a question, and I want you to answer this honestly. Does Sam Surridge start on Saturday? Does he start on Saturday? Because at the moment, as it stands, Taiwo Awoniyi is the top scorer. This season, the most proven goal scorer. But last night, Sam added a bit of something different. He added that kind of not all out number 9 role. He added something just a bit different. His vision was great. And, he never stopped working from the moment he got the ball. And that for me was really impressive. I think Awoniyi struggled a little bit at times. And I do feel for him a little bit in that aspect. But it's got to be asked, would you start Surridge? Would you? Because, it's at the end of the day, we saw his dad yesterday, didn't we, Cal and Dora and everyone? We saw his dad and it was great to chat to him and he was buzzing after the game. I mean, your son's gone there and got an absolute banger of an assist to Jesse Lingard. It was brilliant. And it was fantastic. And the thing I like about Sam Surridge is how unselfish he is, because I know a lot of strikers, perhaps even people that I play football with, would have gone, right, okay, I want to try and have a shot from here. Do I do it? Most probably would. If that was me, I probably would have gone and had a shot from the header, even though it's in a crazy angle and the cross was slightly overhit, only so slightly, or maybe that's what Aurier was going for. I probably would have gone for the shot. But Surridge, being the most unselfish player that he is, found Lingard there, and Lingard was there in a perfect position. And in regard to Lingard, and I've spoken to a couple of people, and I think it's definitely opened my eyes to it. It was a good game yesterday. It was a good game yesterday, and I think I got overexcited with the Lingard thing and I'm not saying that the Lingard thing is a bad thing, because it's great that we're supporting him, and it's great that he's had a kind of a moment that hopefully will change his career at Forest. Hopefully, equally though, he's been here a while, and this should have been earlier. So I think that there's more sides to it. As much as we have to give him the credit, because yesterday was awesome, excellent, really, really good, and also another thing as well, he presented a new level of fitness that we've not seen him have. So I was impressed. Always getting stuck in, maybe just the confidence boost he needs, but he does have to do this in the league, and he's yet to do that. So Saturday's a big, big moment, and if he plays, I don't know. Pardon me, but that would put him in strong contention for getting game time for sure, and maybe even a bit more game time. Really, really played well. Good game for him. Good goal. Obviously, doing the gritty on Spurs fans is brilliant, and it was nice. It was nice to see that kind of element of being a bit of a shithouse. I enjoyed that, and that was fun. And to beat Spurs 2-0 is brilliant, and then to see him doing that is just even better. So, in terms of the atmosphere and what it did for the fans, brilliant. Loved it. And those moments you live for, don't you? That's moments you live for. Seeing Jesse Lingard and other players, kind of come out the shell a little bit, and just at the end as well, Brennan and Morgan Gibbs-White just kind of winding the Tottenham players up, and they loved it. Brennan went down in a heap, and really, he was just smiling. He was loving it. And there was a couple of times when they were a bit hard on him, to be fair, but he got back up and he kept playing, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed seeing just the kind of the winding him up and, wasting a bit of time here and there. And it was brilliant. It was brilliant. And if anybody didn't see Brennan Johnson's nutmeg on Clement Longley, you need to go and watch it. Just go and watch the highlights. Search up Clement Longley versus Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson sent him straight back to Barcelona. No hesitation. Straight back to Barcelona. Loan terminated. It was brilliant. Really, really good work from him. So I'm a happy man. I'm a happy man with that. And I really can't speak bad about any of the lads that were on there. Good to see Jack Colback get a little run out as well. He didn't really have a lot to do, and that's fair enough. Just happy for them all. It was a really special night, and I had that cup feeling when I walked in, that smell in the air. The evening, it's a cold Wednesday evening. And all those cup games we had last year, the Huddersfields, the Arsenals, the Leicesters, all those games at home, and obviously Arsenal and Huddersfield being those evening games, were amazing. Really, really amazing. And I really, really enjoyed witnessing that. And we could do it again this year. There's no club from London except for Charlton that are still in the competition. Phenomenal. Eve here. So, do you think the break for the World Cup will be good for Forest? Yes. And people, please feel free to put in your questions, and I'll happily answer them and have a little chat with you about that. We are going to start getting more guests when we do streams. I've tried to work on a couple this week, but unfortunately everybody was busy. So for the next one, we will be working on that. And that'll be Sunday night. So do stick with us Sunday night, and we'll be bringing you some stuff from there. But in terms of what the World Cup will do for Forest, obviously a lot of the lads aren't going to be in the World Cup. You've got Kouyaté going, Nico, Wayne Hennessy, Brennan Johnson, obviously, and then Remo Freuler. So I think, there's 5 lads there that are obviously really important, and they're going to get their boost of confidence from the World Cup. I personally believe that Wales will get through and will get through the group stages. I do hope. You can only hope, can't you? But we'll see. We'll see. Obviously, it's a massive, massive moment for Brennan, Nico, and obviously Brennan and Nico in specific. Obviously, I think they're our first World Cups now, and obviously, for Brennan, it's been a hell of a year, and they should be really, really proud of themselves, and I'm sure that they are. I'm sure that they're absolutely loving it, and as a young person, being able to think, right, in Brennan's case, I'm at Lincoln. Go and smash it at Lincoln. You've smashed it at Lincoln. You come back to Forest, you smash it first season back. And then you go into the World Cup in Qatar. It's just phenomenal. And for someone to do that at 21, and it's the same for Nico, just amazing. Really, really impressive. And he's obviously went up with Fulham last season, and, he's done bits for Liverpool, and it's just impressive. And we should be so proud of such young guys in our squad doing so well. And representing Forest on an international stage. So, yeah, I think it'll be brilliant for confidence. Of course, there's the injury side of it, Eve. I can't be naive and deny it. And Sebastian, you make a good point. Nobody wants to see that. And of course, with lots of games in a short period of time, and you're in a country that is extremely hot, it's going to be more intensive. I know there's big aircon systems in the stadium, but in a really, really intensive kind of situation like playing for Wales in Qatar, it's really, really, it's going to be difficult, and there could be injuries coming our way, but that's the reality of football. This is what happens, but we can only hope and pray that it that people don't, and that people come back safe and everything's okay. So fingers crossed. Let's be positive. I'm looking forward to it. Evening, Brian. Hope you're doing well. Do you reckon Steve will start Wazza and Scott versus Palace? I'm a bit unsure about Scott McKenna at the moment, because obviously I posted on Twitter, if any of you have seen it, about a couple of fitness concerns. There is fitness concerns currently at the moment with Scott McKenna and Kouyaté. So when I name my starting 11, I'm not going to include McKenna and Kouyaté just in case. And I know that Cooper's Magic Sponge usually solves everything. But just for the sakes of worst case scenario, I'm going to leave out Scott McKenna and Kouyaté, not by choice, as I say, just by that. So, yeah. So just keep this in mind. So Saturday's lineup for me would have to be, I'm going to say Hennessy in goal again. I'm going to say Hennessy in goal again and go for it. Whether that will happen just based on the World Cup and if Rob Page will want him playing and, whatever, potentially we could see a 50-50 or a Hennessy coming off a little bit earlier on than you usually see, which is, usually don't come off. I'm going to go for, in the middle, Worrell and Bolly. Yeah, I think that could stay. Obviously, with fitness concerns being a thing, but it could either be Cook and Bolly or Worrell and Bolly. But I do think Worrell and Bolly perhaps work a bit better together. On the left, I'm going to go Ren and Loddy. On the right, Serge Aurier without a doubt. In the midfield, and remember, I'm not including Kouyaté at the moment. I'm going to go Yates, O'Brien, and Freuler. Because we haven't really got, obviously, without Kouyaté and Mangala, a lot of other players that you could chuck in there. So yeah, Yates, O'Brien, and Freuler. And this is the bit where I'm a bit like this. I really do doubt that Brennan will get a full game, and I don't think he'll start. So I'm going to actually say Jesse Lingard on the left. I'm going to go for Sam Surridge up front and Morgan Gibbs-White on the right. That would be my team. So, as I say, in goal, Hennessy, back four, Serge Aurier, Renan Loddy, Willy Bolly, and Joe Worrell. In the midfield, Freuler, Yates, and O'Brien. And in the 3 in attack, I'm going to go for Lingard, Surridge, and Morgan Gibbs-White. Now, that's the team I think that will play. So I'm not saying that every player that's playing there I would 100% want. But Greg, in terms of, so that's the predicted lineup I'm going to give you. Who would I change from that though? Potentially Lingard for Dennis on the left wing. I want to see how Dennis and Surridge play together a little bit, to be honest. Obviously, I know that Taiwo and Dennis have got friendship and got history, but they've not really been played together that much. And although people think that's just a coincidence, I think there's probably a bit more to it, to be honest. So, and I'm not saying that by any means that there's anything in there that nobody knows, but I do believe there's probably something else more to it that Cooper isn't playing Orney and Dennis together for that reason. So I'm going to go for the predicted 11. I'm going to go for my starting 11, which would be unchanged, bar starting Dennis on the left. So I wouldn't start Johnson, probably because of the fact that, as I say, the World Cup is literally around the corner, and for an attacking player in that game, it's going to be tough. And I know that there's probably going to be a couple of players that are going to be omitted from either side on the advice of various international managers, whether that be for a full game or just half or even less, just to be precautionary. So yeah, that would be the starting 11 I go for tomorrow. So I'm just going to run through it again. Hennessy, back four, Serge Aurier, Renan Loddy, Willy Bolly, Worrell. In the midfield, Yates, Freuler, and O'Brien. On the left, Dennis. Up top, probably Surridge, and then on the right, Morgan Gibbs-White. That's the team I'm going for. You can change that and whatever. But Russell, as I say, it would be different if the players were fit. I would start Kouyaté over Freuler without hesitation if he was fit. And of course, if you've taken a knock and you're also going to the World Cup, I really do doubt that you're going to be playing, obviously, taking a knock and then potentially risking it even further, and then risking your place in the squad for the World Cup is just not something that you can do. So for that one, I'm going to say, respectfully to Kouyaté at the moment, probably best to leave that. Henderson will start probably. I mean, he's got nothing to really lose out on if he was to get injured at the moment. If it's going to be a small scale injury, it's not too costly for the team. That being said, you do hope it doesn't happen. But I think Hennessy, it'd be good to see him just get another 90 minutes, get some bit of practice before the World Cup, which is obviously a week away. So it's an important time, but at the same time, it might not be the right time to go and get game time for him in case he gets injured. So, but we'll have to wait and see. This is it. It's the guessing game now, and we're gonna have to play it. So, yeah, it's a waiting game, people. It's a waiting game. But that's the team that I reckon will start, and that's the team I wanted to play, as I've just mentioned. And you say that no club manager would, but when there's potential for rotation, like in Brennan's case, you could chuck Morgan Gibbs-White on his position in right wing, or if you wanted to chuck someone else in for Kouyaté, you could. When you've got a bit of rotation, I think you can do that, and I think Forest won't suffer incredibly if you omit a couple of players just for a half or a little bit more or less. But I don't think it's fully. I'm not saying that Steve Cooper would be fully swayed in any way. If he wants to play a player, he'll do it. But I think at the same time, there's probably also an element of, okay, well, on the advice of this manager, or I would like you to not play them for the full game if possible. But obviously, clubs paying the wages, whatever. But at the same time, yeah, I do think that it's, on an international side, they want their club to get as far as they can. And those players are going to be important for that. So they don't want them to be injured. But Forest need those players. So, but there's a lot of players that aren't going to the World Cup in that team. So we'll have to wait and see. And I'm sure they'll get game time. How will they cope with Zaha? It's a good question. very good player, difficult to get around. He can wind players up without even trying at times. So, you know, it's a really precarious situation, really tough. But I would say that Zaha will be dealt with. Won't be easy, as I say, but don't lose hope. I think we can deal with him. As I say, it won't be easy, but we can do something, I'm sure. Lingard looked much better in the centre last night with the two strikers playing a bit wider. Thought it worked well. Don't think he's as effective out wide. Yeah, and that's another reason I'd probably start Dennis on the left wing, to be honest, because, you know, obviously being a more left wing minded player, you know, it would make a bit more sense. But as well, we've also got a midfielder coming in January, so that's going to be good as well. Gustavo Scarpa, obviously he left. I don't know if any of you have seen, but there's actually a video going around that I've shared of him leaving Palmeiras today. There was he was saying his goodbyes and everything else, and it's really interesting. And he's actually a very well-respected player within Palmeiras, and not just Palmeiras as a club, but also Brazil. So it's really exciting times, and a very good player. I've attached the video link in the comments as well for anybody that's interested. So do go and have a little look. And as I say, I've pinned it in the comments. But yeah, Gustavo Scarpa, very interesting player. Mark, good evening. Praying Clough, clever. The club haven't announced Scarpa yet, no. But I mean, you can just look at all the articles and various things. He wouldn't be saying goodbye if he wasn't coming to us, that's for sure. So from what I have heard and what a lot of us have heard as well, is that the announcement will come in January, or probably just after, not just after, just before, like they did with Serge Aurier. And yeah, but obviously, you know, he's been at Palmeiras a number of years. You know, he's made himself a bit of a club legend. Obviously, a lot of the fans absolutely gutted that he's leaving. And Forest will be gaining a bit of a gem. So I'm really looking forward to it. Really good player. 28 years old. This season, let's look at his stats from this season. So this season, he's been brilliant, may I just say. He's had 34 matches. I don't know how the seasons work in Brazil. He's scored 7 goals and he's got 12 assists. Last season, 4 goals, 13 assists. Season before, 1 goal, 5 assists. And season before that, 4 goals, 4 assists. In the Cup this year, he's got 8 matches, 4 goals, 2 assists. It's brilliant. He is going to be phenomenal. So I'm looking forward to that. But I think the agreement was that if Olympiacos didn't get to the Champions League, which they didn't, unfortunately, then he would join Forest. And at the moment, it's looking like that could happen. So very exciting times. Really looking forward to seeing him out on the field. And all we can do is hope that he can perform the same for Forest. But guys, I'm going to, as I say, get leaving because I'm on door at 9. I did say I'd be leaving at 1:45. So I do appreciate you all joining me in this stream. I appreciate you all giving your feedback and just being brilliant audience members as you all are. Remember what I was saying earlier about the streams as well. It's not going anywhere. We're not stopping. We're not leaving. But things are going to have we're going to have a little change. We're going to have a little play around with the channel and how it works. But do stay with us. Sunday's stream will be the last stream before the World Cup. And we're going to be doing a couple of England streams as well. But equally, at the same time, there will be a couple of other things going on, like the awards show. So next Wednesday. So thank you all for listening. Jump over to Door's channel, please. And I'll see you there at 9 o'clock. Do stay with us. And it's going to be really fun. Have a great evening, everybody. I'll look forward to seeing some of you on Saturday. Catch up with me on Twitter and we'll have a chat. Thank you all. Have a great night and catch you soon.